So I'm going to use this thread just to explain. I mean, I'm not a proper leather worker, don't forget, but the reason I cut that with that little tool is because this is going in and out your pocket. I want this stitching to really be as near to below the surface as you can so that it won't wear out. So for the stitching, I've found that it's about 4 and a bit lengths. So I've been doing 5 most of the time because I'd rather be too long than too short. I'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-ish. I saw this on the internet the other day, how to thread your needles. So you just get the flat end, obviously put it through like you normally would, but then I just used to do this with one poke through there and put it through, but I saw someone on the internet do it like this. You sort of separate the thread, you put it through one like that, and then put it through again, and another one, and then you just move these down to the end of the needle, pulling this one through till you get to that end, and then just whoop it down, and that's the needle on there really good. This is already beeswax. This comes waxed, this thread, but I just give it a go with paraffin wax, especially around the needles. Because they're the one that get the most friction. Give it a couple of goes on the needle, around the back of the needle. And then just sort of wipe off the excess quick. You don't really have too much trouble. I mean, one of the reasons when you beeswax it and really give it a stiff pull is to take the twist out of the thread, but this doesn't seem to twist that much, this thread. Right, I'll set my stitching pony up and start the sewing. I made this stitching pony with this little cam lock and it's adjustable. I tend to always try to stitch away from myself. I just plonk that in there, lock it in, and we're ready to go. Stick your needle through your first hole. Pull them evenly. You can't see that, but I've got my arms up in the air and the two threads are the same length. And adjust my chair and zoom it. There you go, through the next hole. You pull your needle through. Some people cross the needles here. I don't tend to do that, but I'm a bit slow. Then you come back through the other side. Making sure you don't spear your thread, and then wrap that over the needle and through you come. and the tension as you go through here. I don't think it'll matter quite so much on this lever because it's a bit thicker than I have been using. But it can pull and twist your lever if you don't get the tension pretty much spot on. And by the tension, I mean basically the amount you give it at this point. Just coming around with the last stitch now, on this half anyway. Now I'm going to back stitch it. Don't have to worry about wrapping it round on the back stitch. This is only to hold it in. Make the holes a little bit bigger. Just want to make sure that the threads come underneath the others. Otherwise it looks a bit messy. That's it. Now just pull these a bit tight, nip them off pretty close to the edge, and they pop in. Not too far in that they pop right through, but and that's it. That's that one stitched. I'll get on and do the other side. So that's all the stitching done. I'm now going to trim these corners off, just round corners off. Now I'm going to use that one. Just use this little thing as a guide, just cut the corner off square and then a bit off each one. I'll sand them in a minute, which will even them up. Wrong one. That one. Use quite a rough bit of sandpaper just on these corners just to even them out. That's it. Right, so now I'm going to get me fancy new edging tool that I bought and just go around all the edges. It just takes a little tiny bit off the edge. There's all the little stringy bits that have come off the edges. Now I'm just going to give it quite a light sanding over and start polishing the edges up. Right, I'm going to just dye these edges now. I've got this little tube of dye. Don't seem to be much of it left. I bought this before when I did my wife's thing. I'm just going to put a little blob of it on here. Right, I'm going to let that dry and go and make a cup of tea. So before I ever go out polishing the edges, I've got a little bit of a problem. The pencil is very, very tight in there. What I hadn't considered was in the prototypes they worked alright, but this leather is a bit thicker, so consequently the internal diameter of these holes is a bit smaller. So the pencils are very, very tight in it, and what that's doing is making it impossible for the pencil to go through both. Well, not impossible, but not well, I could push them through, but that's no good. Don't think it'll be a major problem in this case, because I'll probably be able to wet that and stick a pencil in them and stretch them. But that's the pitfalls of being inexperienced doing something. I don't doubt an experienced leather worker would have seen that one coming. But I'm not an experienced leather worker. Right, well, I've done a bit more sanding on the edges and they're coming up quite nice already. I'm going to use some of this now. This is called Gum Trager Camphor. I bought it like that in powder form. I've mixed some up with water here. Now Trager Camphor, I believe, is Greek for goat tree or so, goat bush. It's a vegetable product and I'll mix some up in a fish paste jar. So I'm just going to put a little bit on the edges and then sand it again. I think the knack with this stuff is to do it when it's still wet. I ain't had much success with it with the other things I've done, but then that was crappy leather. I've also got a new little toy there that I'm going to try in a minute. It's certainly coming up shiny. Yeah, it's quite nice. I do actually think it's the friction that does it more than anything else. That seems to have come up alright. So this is my little thing I bought. It's supposed to be ebony. I don't suppose it is ebony, but it's a very black hardwood. And it's just a little burnisher which I've got in my handheld thing. Plug in and I'll try that. Right, so that's the edge I've just done. So I'm going to have a go at this edge with this thing. Was in the fire and it don't seem to want to turn down. Oh, that's it, hang on. Let's try it on that speed. Spat all that stuff at me. Certainly smoothed it down. Perhaps that one went better because I'd sanded it a bit more. Yep, the sanding definitely seems to make it shinier. But they're alright. Right, I'll do a bit more sanding on this. It's nearly ready. I'm really pleased with the edges on this. It'll come up quite nice. And now I just want to, you can get a bone thing for doing this, but I just want to go down here and make sure there's no, I'm not still stuck right down there stopping the card going in. Make sure the card fits in it. Yep, card fits in there perfect. See about the credit card bit. I could probably do just taking the lip off in there so that goes in a bit easier, but yep, that goes in. Might just see if I can get my knife in there and just cut a little groove on that. Probably not on this one, I'll do it before I put them together. But all I've got to do now is try and stretch the pencil holder bits. And then clamp it down and give it a fold. Might just stick that in the wooden vise. Oh, there's one other thing I've got to do. I've got to hammer these stitches down. I'm going to do that on a bit of the other leather, just so in case there's anything on here that damages it. I mean, the other stitches on the other side have gone in quite nice, but these are a little bit proud. Feels a bit better. That's it, stretch these. Get a crease in it, just stick it in a vise or something to close that right up, and I think that's it. It's just a tiny little bit too small, that pencil holder, but like I say, I'm sure the pencil will go through very tight. It's just where they come across, it's just not quite long enough. Millimetre or two. But stick a pencil in there with a bit of water, I think it'll be alright. Right, I'm going to stick that in a vise and cross it over, and then of course I've got to put someone's name on it. So to finish this card holder off, I'm going to stick a name on it because I'm going to give it to someone. I'll tell you about that in a second. Let's get this foil in about the right place. I've already sort of pissed about with this and hopefully lined it up. So here we go. So that's his name on it. Alright, so now switch this off and move over to the laser pecker. After all that, I went and did it upside down. But that's alright. Because like I say, this is only for a mate of mine. And the reason I've done it for him is my golf net got burnt when the shed, I had a practice net rigged up on my shed. And that went for Burton, and Ian has got a golf net he said I could have. So I thought I'd make him this scorecard holder with an upside down logo. But if it was the right way up, it'd be really good. We live and learn. Alright, well that's all for this one. That's the first reasonably good scorecard holder made. Scorecard fits in there quite nice. Pencil goes in. Can't find a pencil at the moment. The pencil fits in there to close it. And you've got a little slot there for a credit card or your club card, and an upside down logo. Should always test them before you do it. I knew that was that way up and all.